Welcome back to The Scoop. Boy, have we got a treat for you. In the wake of COVID, many of us are seeing hyper-local and community-based events really coming into focus for ourselves and many of the brands that we work with. Today, I am joined by Monchiere Holmes Jones, the CEO and founder of MOJO Marketing and PR, fresh from Nashville, Tennessee. And she's going to help give us the inside track on how to turn into local heroes and do it right the first time. Welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here. This is awesome. Love it. Love everything that's been happening. I was looking at the last guy like, dang, I got to come with the heat. He did an awesome job. I love it.
And he really did. Thanks again, Henry, for coming on the show. It was absolutely fantastic. But you are super impressive, and I love what you and the team are doing over at MOJO. Now, you've been doing hyper-local and community-based events, kind of BC, before it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about what is it that makes these experiences so impactful?
Yes, awesome. What we've known for years is that it's the locals who show up to the events, right? It's the folks who are coming. If you're at the NFL draft in Vegas or your NFL draft in Nashville, it's the locals who pop up. Folks do travel from wide and far, but they're coming to experience what locally is present. So knowing all of that, it's like, why wouldn't we show what we got? And so we figured out a long time ago how to make our local heroes and with big brands connect. And that's what we've been doing. So we've been bringing folks in, big brands in, and saying, let me show you how to impact locally. Host something together with this organization, with this brand, pop up at this local brick and mortar mom and pop, and really make something, some great synergies.
And talking about those pop-ups, you and your team are behind some pretty exciting successes.
Okay.
Can you share a little bit about some of your recent favorites?
Oh, sure. What we're working on now is this literally organization. It's 100,000 women who are a member of Sigma Gamma Rho sorority. It's one of the Divine Nine sororities, historic in nature, and they're celebrating their centennial. Over the last year, we've taken them to literally almost 30 plus cities.
Wow.
For events to activate at current celebrations, sponsorships, football games, the Rose Parade. We've taken them to different places and basically put their brand on display as an organization and allowed them to do what they do well, which is service. And so as a service organization, we've literally put them on in the news. We've popped up at stores to say, hey, look, come learn about how you can serve with us and join our organization. And it's been really fun, really fun.
That's really exciting. Congratulations. What a fantastic cause as well, furthering the future for such an important audience. You know, capturing people when they're at college, you know, that's what we were just talking about. And Henry, it lays the foundation for success in our lives. So fantastic.
And in our communities,
And in
right?
our communities,
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you talked a little bit about the pop-ups, and you must have this conversation every day. It's, do we go big or do we spread it out and have these local activations? How do you help counsel a brand on when to go big bang and when to go local?
So we think about how we all learned about these activations, these experiences. It came from the Fortune 500s, right? And so I'm thinking about a brand I worked on some years ago, Domino's.
Yeah.
Domino's knew they were going to drop the pizza 15 plus years ago, right? But they also cared very heavily about their market share. And so they would say, well, what can we do different, you know, and to make sure that we keep market share in Louisville or keep market share in Louisiana. And sometimes it wasn't just buying an ad and running an ad. It was about maybe you should pop up and give pizza away to every kid who's graduating senior. Krispy Kreme just did it a couple years ago. And so being able to tap them and advise them on things that are sustainable in both not just in environment, but both in their memory, makes them brand loyal to the brand long term. Really, they're not. You would have to tell them, give them bad pizza for them to change their mind. And so we like to always make sure it's tied into the long game, to their whole strategy. And that usually is a reason for a big brand to come down local and really sell it in and do something really cool for the locals and connect with them. That's usually how we can sell it in.
Your company's doing a lot of this. What other activations have you seen or other companies have you seen that are doing local well, and what do you love about it?
I think right now, I mean, in the healthcare world, we're 100% in this healthcare world. No matter what you are, if it's hand sanitizers, other brands, Kleenex, Clorox, all of these folks, we've seen them do some pop-ups and come and do, support some of these vaccination events. And I thought that was really cool. And, and partnering with advertising to do so. I think in Nashville, we had a situation where someone posted on under a billboard, and literally they were giving out Kleenex boxes. And I was like, what are they doing? I think, is that really Kleenex? And it made you interested to go over and pull over your car and say, oh, we'll take a box. And it just kind of like, we care, we know you need it. And that's those simple moments, small product activation, but it's memorable because folks are like, I got my free Kleenex down under the billboard with the sign up. And it's for them, for a big brand, that's nothing. It's minutes in their day to really dig deep and get on the local level and let everybody in Nashville decide that they, or in New Orleans, decide that this is what they want. They want to rock with Kleenex.
And I love that moment that you just spoke of there, which is they feel connected and they feel like they've been seen. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite sayings of all time is people will forget what you say, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Yep.
And so it's really about tapping into that emotion at that point in time where they're building that loyalty.
I remember this, and this has nothing to do with my career. My mom did the Pepsi Cola test.
Oh, yes.
And it was in New Orleans years. I'm not talking about like the 90s, well before experiential really had its name. And I remember her coming to tell my aunt how they chose and they got some free soda. And I remember that feeling of her being excited about the free soda, but how she was very adamant about, I'm a Pepsi girl. You know what I mean? I think what we fail to realize is that live experience, staying too big, limits how we connect down to the people who will finally be loyal to you as a brand, and will commit. And it's really hard to get loyal brand lovers these days. It's those hyper-local events that's driving that.
And so in these hyper-local events, obviously we've been through a time in the last couple of years. How did this need to create safe communal spaces and the new focus on that, how are you thinking about that in your activations? Is it something that you think that we've got a few things that we have to do this coming year?
Yeah, I think we all know we're going to be hybrid as a potential safe. As we think about our summits and our conferences and all of those things, the immediate answer is, okay, how are we going to hybridly do it? Folks are committing to the hybrid, right? They're there. But I think we're also thinking about, how are we checking to make sure folks are vaccinated? That is like a new part of the checklist. It's like a must. Let's go ahead and make sure folks are vaccinated. Let's make sure we have those sanitation stations. But at the same time, let's accommodate flexible travel. You know what I mean? So that's another conversation. Maybe so folks can't come in on the main day. Maybe we need to ease them into the weekend, and it's because of certain travel delays. And so we're looking at the whole environment as a whole and seeing how that affects how we organize great events.
That's fantastic. And as a business owner and as a founder of a company and with a number of people in your charge, I think even speaking from our own experience here at B-Dance, we saw things ebb and flow through COVID. Some of our partners had to make some really tough choices. And as business owners, we've learned some lessons. I'd love to learn a little bit about what lessons did you learn? How have you changed? Talk to me a little bit about your story.
Cool. COVID hit us hard. I mean, 2019, we were top 100 event marketer magazine. We had done, I think, 19 plus events. And I mean, everything from 7 grand openings to opening banks, to opening coffee shops for a franchisee brand, to relaunching beauty brands. I mean, we've done it all. And 2020, we had this lineup. I mean, folks were locked in. We had contracts and everything. And then they were like, yeah, so we're going to cancel that. And that's canceled too. And that's canceled. And it's like, okay, everything's gone. You know what I mean? Everything's gone. So what I paused then and said, I didn't want to pivot. I didn't want to pivot because I wanted to see what was happening. I mean, who knew, right? I saw the world was pivoting. Everybody was immediately looking for it. And I was like, no, we're going to be good. We're going to be good. Because one thing we always did is that we were unique in the fact that we always amplified our events. So people came to us for the exposure and the PR and the social promotion around the event, as well as us ideating on the event. So we had that base of some sort. And so we paused. But what happened was, our experience in healthcare came around the corner. It was like, hey, Monchiere, remember you did this for me? And where we are, we're blessed. Nashville's a healthcare city, headquarters for healthcare, everything. And they all picked up the phone. And now literally 50 to 60% of our business is healthcare. 50 to 60% of our business is healthcare, and we run the gamut of what we do for them. We're basically pivoted to a full service agency now because of that. So it actually was a blessing.
That's
You know,
fantastic.
we didn't know it then. We didn't know it
We
then.
didn't know it then. Well, I'm so happy and excited for you and for your
Awesome.
team. You know, they say the strongest teams are forged in fire.
Oh, yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of that. And it sounds like that's really come home to roost for you and yours, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, we're very excited about that. We've had some, you know, we've onboarded new folks, some new thinking. And I was just talking to some folks in the back about, I don't like the rush of the world that we used to have. I think the reset welcomes the dwell.
Yeah.
And, you know, everything had, you know, we need to start padding our events with 30 minutes of thinking time.
Yes.
Because how stressful is setting up a booth? It's the most stressful thing in the world. We all know it, right? Booth setup, no matter if you took time to learn the background or whatever, it is the most stressful thing in the world. I don't know. I don't care about the instructions. I don't care that they told me I was supposed to read 1 through 10. It doesn't help me.
No. And then it doesn't look right.
It doesn't.
Well, so you got like the renderings are different. You gotta move it.
And let's not talk about these boxes of tchotchkes that we love to give away. Who's moving that? You know what I mean? Oh, not me. Oh no, we need to start looking at the dwell and like really making sure that we ideate in a way that our people benefit too, not just the people we're trying to obtain or grab for our client. Like the people are going to be just as important. Like we're on an equal playing field, staff and consumer, staff and customer, staff and client. Like they're all equal. So we got to show love all around. So that's kind of my world right now, focusing on them and the future client at the same time. And making sure it makes sense.
And making sure that it makes sense. And I love that there's this huge conversation happening around the return to work.
Right.
A few CEOs got into some sticky situations by asserting, you know, thou shalt return to the office. We're seeing our brand clients having to make these difficult decisions. Do we stay? Do we go? How are we seeing that play out in the agency world where a lot of us may not go to an office? Where are you thinking for your business, and what are you seeing in terms of trends on back to the office, back to on site? What are your thoughts?
I think the flex was coming before. I mean, it was 13 years ago they were giving us flex time, and we were doing flex time in the agency world, in the big agency world. So I think the hybrid, being able to work in office and out of office, it's going to sustain itself. I think there's going to be some companies who need their staff in office for various reasons. Team morale, all of that. Some companies have to restart their culture, and that's why they want people in desk, so they can use the staff to help do that. But I think if we're smart about it, we got to be able to corral and kind of have working sessions at least weekly, and that can't happen through Zoom. And I'm you know, in the event world, people who are in the event space often, you're going to be working from home and hybridly many days of the week. Let's find that one day or two that you come in and you work together, and so that you can keep morale, build culture, and really stay on the same page so that we're not winging it, you know, every day, right? Because when you're by yourself and your dog, who's also working with you, eventually you lose some of the culture of the company. I know someone would argue with me on that you don't lose the culture, but you do, because it becomes their home culture and not your business culture. So I like the hybrid world. I think that's what I'm going to foresee.
I like the hybrid world too. And here at B-Dance, we're 100% remote, but you really feel the difference when, you know, we're all together now and able to connect. It's
the
really
vibes.
Like the vibes. It's about the vibes. And
exactly.
As communications professionals, because I think that at our heart, that's what it's about, right? It's creating that human connection through communication. That's what we all do. And you forget sometimes about that whole, you know, going back to marketing 101, it's the encoding and the decoding of the message. Just being able to communicate with somebody when you're actually there with them, there's something about it, you can feel their energy, a lot less misunderstandings.
Right.
Is that your experience as well?
100%. A lot of times we're using old lingo, and these new kids are coming in, and we're realizing that they only learn the lingo of the industry by sitting and hearing it every day. Well, they don't hear it now because they're working from home, and you're saying something. I'm like, no, I meant this, and you're fixing work because of a lingo, industry terms, and it's like, oh, that's just how we say copy. You know what I mean? So it becomes a thing that I think they're losing some of the nature of what we built in the agency world, which is its own industry. If you go work, you know, in the factory, there's a whole style of that. Or the agency, there's a whole style of culture and things we say, and you don't get it if you don't see it every day or at least often.
At least often. There was something that I was watching. I'm addicted to TikTok.
Oh,
so
me too. I'm a stalker though.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
I'm here to watch.
Okay, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm definitely
don't ever catch me on TikTok doing a dance.
No, thank you. Maybe somebody else who's not me, but I'm definitely into getting other people to do the dance.
Yes.
Like, I'm here for it.
Oh, I'll share it all day long.
All day
My
long.
whole family knows that. I'll share a TikTok at least once a day.
At least once a day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this beautiful entertainment. But there's something that I watched on it that I just found so fascinating. And it was a Gen Zer. Show me the hand signal that you make if you're going to say, hey, Fallon, call me.
Oh, okay.
Show it to me. Right? You and me are the same generation. We're like, call me.
Right.
You know what the kids do?
What?
Call me.
Oh my gosh. What is like? I wouldn't even think of that. Like, how? No.
But it's the mobile. It's the mobile phone.
Completely forgotten that this was the phone. And this is the phone to them. That's
exactly.
great.
They have privacy now. None of this. Remember the long cords? Like you want to have a private conversation, you got to stretch it down the hallway and go around a corner, and your mum's picking up the other line. None of that for this generation.
That's true.
But then
spoiled. Vice versa. They've been spoiled, but we don't know this. Like you just taught me that. I was like, I've watched TikTok often. That's true. They're not going to remember the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think that's why the hybrid is needed. That's why even if it's like power hours.
Yeah.
I mean, you get your work done faster when you're working together.
Absolutely.
Let's just call a spade a spade.
And we need to have more Gen Zers and more alphas on our teams for good design. I think back to something so simple as we had Miri Rodriguez here, and she's from Microsoft. Okay. And earlier today, I was reviewing something in Microsoft Word, and it struck me, the save button. Do you know what the picture is on the save button?
Yeah.
It's a 3.5-inch floppy disk.
Who
knows what that is now? Like, I look at it, I'm like, oh, I remember when we transitioned to those. Right. I know that thing. But when we think about design, there are people now who only know that thing is the save button.
Yeah.
And
so it might be where it comes from.
They don't know where it comes from. So what are we doing to make sure that our teams, and how do you counsel your clients around making sure that their teams represent the audience that they're there to serve?
What I found, media training for everything. So, you're usually media trained because they're going on air or something. You media train when they come to events, when they speak on stage, when they're doing a panel. And it's not really media training for the media. It's culture training to remind them of the value statements or the talking points of their brand, so they don't lose that live Instagram post when they're going live or something like that they don't forget to say that. You know what I mean? And so we spend a lot of time doing that as well. Like, let me prep you. Here's the talking points for this event that we're going to do. So make sure you throw this in if you end up talking to somebody, like literally, because everybody has to re-articulate their brand now. Everybody. If you're Ford or if you're, MOJO marketing, we have to re-articulate your brand because everything is new.
Everything is new. And I love that you do that. Before we came here, we had a conversation specifically about that. What's the elevator pitch? What are our one-line case studies? And is everybody familiar with the values of the brand?
That's awesome.
We've talked a lot about Gen Z. I feel like that's a really big hot topic. But also it's everybody, even me. I'm an elder millennial. But even
OG
millennial. Exactly. People are like, are you a millennial? I'm like,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And so I tried to be stealth about being a millennial when I was younger. There was this huge weight, and I think that as a woman who's so accomplished as you as well, when you achieve this success as a young person, it takes a while for you to get comfortable being in that zone. Was it like that for you as you were coming up in the world? Were you did you ever pretend that you were older than what you really are?
Oh, that's my MO. My whole MO in life has been that I'm going to, even with the boys early on in life, I kind of did that too. That's sidebar. But yes, my whole thing was, let me show you that I'm prepared. And the only way I can show you is that I dressed and only wore suits my whole first 2 years of agency life. My daddy said that tall girls wear skirts. You don't want pants. You want to come off a little masculine. It's a Southern man, so this is what we took. But in hindsight now, I could have worn what I wanted. But it was about coming off very put together and very mature. so that I can be sold in. And I paid off. I mean, I got promotions in 8 months, and great things happened as a result of that. However, long game, it took away from the authenticity of me and who I really was. And so when that came about, MOJO was able to be birthed. And now, we operate freely. I mean, no matter who you are, no matter what your business is, if post-pandemic or not, if you don't feel free in doing it, reset. If you're questioning hybrid and versus work in the office, that's just small problems. Focus on making sure that you can really be authentic, and everybody that's working with you is authentic, because you won't be able to come up with cool ideas about hyper local and connecting with people on a local level. Like if it's serving the homeless, or asking, and then donating money to Second Harvest, and then tying that into an automotive company. You won't be able to come up with all of that if you're thinking about being put together and how you look every day and how you feel every day. You won't be able to think on that level because you're thinking about yourself.
I love the message there around that freedom that comes from listening to your inner voice.
Oh yeah, 100%.
If it feels off, it's not right, and you've got a scratch on it. And I'm really happy for the generation that's coming up after us now, because they are free from those burdens of how you need to dress and be perceived to be professional. It's be comfortable, be recognized for who you are and the talents that you have. And you don't have to sit around to earn a seat at the table.
Right.
You earn it the day that you walk through the door. And I love that whole.
I love that. I love that for them. I do love that. I love that we see it though, and we're not jealous of it. I think that's a millennial way, right? We're not jealous of it. We're kind of like, I like that. But for, I think that's good. I think the only dilemma becomes with our Gen Z is that you can connect strongly if you don't only think that this is it. You see what I'm saying? So if you come in the door and understand, well, this is it. This is what I'm doing, and I'm only going to do it like this. You limit yourself. So I fear their limitations is the only thing. And then it becomes, I fear their limitations and their impact on the organizations they're a part of. They're going to be amazing, but I fear that because they're not trying to get beyond that box. Whereas the millennials, not to toot our own horn, so cool. The millennials, we literally wanted to do it all. And we respected the wisdom that came before us, but we still wanted to do it all. I still want them to want to do it all, just like us. That's a little part of that.
And, I really see that play out in the work-life balance.
Yep.
Okay, there's these beliefs, and, I know that I hold it, and you're all about the grind too. You have worked so hard to make your business successful. Yeah. And sometimes when we look at some of the generations that are coming up, I think they've really nailed this whole work-life balance thing, setting healthy boundaries. They're doing great for advocating for themselves.
And it's helping every other generation at the same time. If we're honest. We were not looking at taking no time off until a pandemic. And these kids were like, hold on, I have a vacation to go to in the pandemic, okay? Like, I got to be somewhere in the pandemic. So that's good. I think we all feed off of each other. And it takes it back to the fact that we can create events all day long. We can build a brand all day long. But if we don't know and allow each person from each race to be a part of it, is it really impactful? Like, did it make sense to print that banner? Like real life. That's the new question. I think that's the trend. Sometimes we get here and we're like, oh, cool brand. We did it. We got it. No, like seriously, was it impactful? And I think that's what hyperlocal asks. It asks you to say, how impactful was this?
I love that. And I have had so much fun with you today. Thank you so much, Monchiere, for joining us here on The Scoop. You've given us a lot to think about. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your insights, not only on how to get hyperlocal and get it done well, but also for your amazing insights as a leader. Thank you so very much.
No problem. You're amazing. I need you to interview me more often, honey. That was on point.
Well, thank you. Well, you just stay here and you don't go away because we're not finished yet. If you want to catch up with Monchiere, make sure that you go and see her on stage or check out MOJO Marketing and PR. And remember to stay tuned into The Scoop today and every day here at the Experiential Marketing Summit. See you soon.